Hello, everyone. I'm really pleased to hear that so many of you have been enjoying the This Week in Jewish History series. This week, on the 3rd of Av, we have a very important anniversary. It is the anniversary of the first arrival of boats of Jewish immigrants from the Russian Empire in the wake of the 1881-84 pogroms. So what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about those pogroms, why they happened, and what they meant to the Jews, and the impact that these pogroms had on the development of the American Jewish community in particular, but as we shall see, really on world Jewry as well. So let's go over here to the Prezi. Okay, so the pogroms started in the wake of an important assassination, Alexander II, in March of 1881, and expanded dramatically throughout the Russian Empire over the next 3 years. The actual physical impact of the pogroms was not as huge, particularly when you compare it to the much larger pogroms at the beginning of the 20th century, and especially when we get to the Holocaust. But the psychic impact of the pogroms was especially important upon the Jews, and they adopted brand new ways of looking at the world around them with huge implications for Jewish history. Looking at the definition of a pogrom, basically, the term is Russian in origin. It's related to this concept of a directed attack. It's related perhaps to the word for lightning, and it usually connotes a quasi-military group attacking a civilian population. Unfortunately, often Jews, although now the term has entered both the Yiddish and the English language and is used in other contexts as well. Pogroms are overwhelmingly characterized by widespread vandalism and property damage, as we can see in this picture of a ransacked synagogue. There is a significant number of beatings and rapes, and violence in the form of murder, although less common, is unfortunately also prevalent in pogroms, particularly in the later decades of the 19th century and going into the 20th century. The specific reason for the onset of pogroms in 1881 was the assassination of Tsar Alexander II, beloved by many Russians as the Tsar liberator who had ended serfdom. He was targeted by the socialist group Narodnaya Volya that was attempting to spark an empire-wide rebellion against the entire Tsarist empire. They were unsuccessful in this regard, but it should be noted that this socialist group was not a specifically Jewish group, although it did have some Jewish members, including a pregnant woman who was later captured and hung for her crime. But it sparked these massive pogrom waves. Specifically, the new Tsar, Alexander III, had given rise to a rumor, or at least it was perceived that he issued this order, that the Russians were free to beat the Jews for 3 days. These 3 days turned out into 3 years of violence, as the violence spread throughout the entire Pale of Settlement, shown in this map as a slightly lighter color. And although comparatively few Jews lost their lives as a result of this violence, only 46 recorded deaths from these 3 years, a very tiny number compared to later violence. Nevertheless, the fact that the Russian Empire seemed powerless or even unwilling to stop the pogrom waves sent a very strong message to the Jewish community. Specifically, Jews lost confidence that the Russian Empire was a Rechtsstaat, meaning a society governed by law. And anarchy is perhaps the worst enemy that the Jewish community can ever have. Jews are often willing to tolerate a mildly discriminatory environment so long as the legal system is enforced. So 5 new narratives were developed by Jews as to how to deal with the fact that the vast majority of Jews lived, the largest single population of Jews lived, in a country that was descending into anarchy. The first of these new narratives, the one that relates to our anniversary today, is emigrationism. Hundreds of thousands of Jews left the Pale of Settlement. 1.750 million Jews left between 1881 and 1928 for the shores of America, with smaller numbers going to other parts of the world, including 45,000 going to the land of Israel. And this was the most traditional of responses to persecution, although there were several salient differences from early immigration, specifically those going to the New World, which was frowned upon by many of the elite and the traditional rabbinic leadership. Also, Jews turned to Zionism, shown here by the founder of political Zionism, Theodor Herzl, thinking that Israel really was the last stop, that rather than simply running from one location to another, Jews should go to the final destination, the land of Israel, and settle and establish it there. And finally, you also have Jewish socialism, which is a determination by Jews that rather than trying to flee to another country, even Israel, where problems may be repeated, they should try to transform the society they lived in right then and there in the Russian Empire, led by people such as Leon Trotsky, shown here in a mugshot from one of his first arrests. There's a theory as well that perhaps one of the most important reasons that Jews rebelled against the Russian Empire was that it was almost impossible to get a decent haircut anywhere in the entire Russian Empire. But that was a joke. Let's go on. There are two other strategies, diaspora nationalism and renewed traditionalism, that will take us a little bit further afield of our discussion today. I encourage you to go look at my website, jewishhistorylectures.org, for a textual discussion of these narratives. In the meantime, let us remember that this week was the first arrival of boats of emigres from the Russian Empire fleeing the pogrom waves. Thank you very much for listening.
It's beer o'clock on Real Old Craft Beer. Today we've got a beer called Kamenitsa 1881 original lager beer. It comes from Bulgaria. So this will be my first ever Bulgarian beer. Here's the bottle cap. I'm one of these guys that shop in a lot of different supermarkets. As we all do, yeah? We're all looking for good price for what we can get for our money. And every now and again, in some of the discount supermarkets, you'll get some weird, not very wonderful, but weird kind of lager. Nice bit of smoke on the bottle opening. And I always think to myself, because it's cheap, yeah? It's about £1 or something like that. I always think, when will I ever have the opportunity to pick up this beer again? And that's what runs through my mind. So it's probably going to be quite a poor lager, yeah. This green glass bottle, hop struck straight away, but it's going to be cold. I've cooled it down. It's going to be refreshing, and it's one of those situations where, again, I'll mention it one more time. Where would I ever find this beer again? So I pick it up. Good levels of carbonation, clear, light golden ale, aroma. Smells like a premium lager. And they all take me back to the summertime, when I generally have my summer holiday in Spain, and you can really only buy this cheap lager beer. It takes me back, and I think to myself, I'm in Ibiza, or I'm in Tenerife, or I'm in Menorca or somewhere like that, you know, where you're going to buy San Miguel or that type of thing, or tropical. But I have been to Bulgaria many moons ago when I was a child. Kamenitsa. I got a story to tell you about Bulgaria because I remember it fondly. Let's dive in. Actually, for a lager, I've had worse lagers, I'm going to be honest. Oh, actually, it's the initial taste that gets me. It's like, it is pretty bad. It is pretty bad. You have an horrible kind of first beginning of the beer. If that wasn't it, it'd be okay. On the back end, it's refreshing and drinkable, and a little bit of kind of biscuity and wheaty. And you can get away with that, a little bit of spiciness there on the back end, but you can get away with that. But the beginning is awful. I don't know what on earth they've done to put this flavour, and it's right smack bang at the beginning. When you breathe and taste it at the same time. Gives your neck a creak. Makes you creak your neck back. And then it all just subsides into a bit of nothingness. So, nothing really else to say about the beer. It's pretty poor. I'll tell you quickly my story about Bulgaria. I remember being a small child and I was a terror. I was a real terror. I'm talking 3, 4, maybe 5 years of age. I remember to this day what I did. When I went to Bulgaria, it was a communist country back then. And I remember my parents took me to this bar. I remember loads of windmills. My parents took me to this bar and I remember wanting to do it. I picked up, some guys were playing pool. I went up, picked a pool ball off the table and threw it through the window. I remember doing it. I remember the ball bouncing on the ceramic tiles and then bouncing through the window. And my dad went bonkers, absolutely bonkers. And I remember the satisfaction, yeah, I've just smashed a window. I was 5. At the very most, I was 5. Bonkers. I didn't settle down until I was in my late 20s. I settled down and become a person, I think. Before that, I was a terror. Absolute terror. Yeah, so that's my story about Bulgaria. That's all I remember, really, about Bulgaria. Riding around on horse and carts, windmills everywhere, and smashing a window with a snooker ball. Crazy. This beer is terrible, absolutely terrible. What can I tell you about this beer? Where's it from? Kamenitsa Arch, Kamen Petrov Street Office Building, 5th floor, Pavdiv, Republic of Bulgaria, 4.4%. That is a really dreadful lager. That is, it's absolutely dire straits. If you go on a cheap holiday to is it called Sunny Beach in Bulgaria? If you go to Sunny Beach and you have to put up with this for a week, it's going to ruin your holiday. It really is going to ruin your holiday. It's bloody awful. Rating. It's the initial taste. It's a shocker. 2 out of 10. 2 out of 10 from Reload Craft Beer. Please put your comments in the comments box. Subscribe to our daily beer reviews. Give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom! And cheers.